MK Party Secretary General Floyd Shivambu has come under the spotlight after visiting the Enlightened Christian Gathering Church led by self-proclaimed prophet and fugitive Pastor Shepherd Bushiri. This was in Malawi. Now, the MK Party distanced itself from the visit, saying Shivambu was there in his personal capacity, not on behalf of the party. For more on this now, we'll talk to SABC News International Editor, and that's Sophie Mokoena joining us on the line. Sophie, perhaps let's start with this. So this visit by Floyd Shivambu to Shepherd Bushiri's church has, of course, stirred quite a bit of controversy, especially given Bushiri's status as a fugitive from South African law. What do we know about the context of his visit so far? Was it planned and was it discussed? And are there any indications or direction of a political motive behind it?
It's not clear whether he went there in his personal capacity or maybe it was an agreement with individuals. But because MK has since issued a statement distancing itself from that trip by Floyd Shivambu, the Secretary General of MK, it means the party is saying we were not part of this. But in politics, you can never rule out a possibility that he did speak to some members of the party to indicate that he will be outside the country. This is where he's going, because I can't think of a leader of a political party leaving the country and then you don't inform the leadership or individuals within the party, because if there's an emergency, there's something that you'll have to discuss. They must know where your whereabouts. You know, I mean, leaving a country, it's not like going to Limpopo or going to Cape Town on a holiday. It's leaving the country. Anything can happen while you are outside the country, and you can't immediately make it back. And therefore, there should have been perhaps a message that was conveyed to some individuals. But the reality is whether it was per instruction of the party or it was his personal decision, the reality is Bushiri was on bail in South Africa. He didn't come back to account in court. He skipped the country in 2020, it's almost 5 years. That's a criminal offense when you don't come back to court when you have been granted bail. That is why if you don't appear in court when you have been granted bail, there's a possibility that you can then send to prison to wait for your case to take course while you have been handed back to the correctional service, not being outside, because that's criminal. It's a criminal offense according to the laws of this country. Secondly, it's a poor political judgment, because as a political party that is in parliament, you make laws. It might not be Floyd himself being in parliament, but he represents, he leads a party that is a third largest party. Above all, it is official opposition, and therefore it has to stand questioning even government for failure to bring Bushiri to account if there's a failure, and lapse, even how Bushiri has been able to lead the country in a portfolio committee of police, justice, or home affairs, because they are responsible for borders. The members of MK must ask hard questions to the political heads of those appointments. How did you leave the country? What are they doing? As we can see now, the process of sending him back to South Africa is underway. And a few weeks ago, the court in Malawi agreed with South Africa that he's got a case to answer. He must go back to South Africa, but he was quick to indicate that he's going to appeal, and therefore there's now a delay. So I think looking at those issues, that is why many people are asking hard questions.
Indeed, people have started asking hard questions, Sophie, and reaction is continuing to pour in from all fronts, thick and fast. I mean, just moments ago, we just read the statement as well from the Justice Ministry as well on this. And many people would be keen on finding out now, how might this unsanctioned visit, affect ongoing efforts to extradite Bushiri back to South Africa?
It won't affect the process. Courts are independent, and these processes are independent. And also, Floyd is not in government, but he's a political leader of the third largest party in the country, the party that is in parliament, the party that sits in different portfolio committees that are supposed to hold the executives accountable in terms of bringing Bushiri back to account. I think the information I got is that you would recall that the former EFF spokesperson, Dr. Bushiri, was invited by the University of Malawi to present a lecture on people and leadership, something like that. But the talk was about how the public representatives and leaders from different sectors engage with ordinary people. And when he was talking about ethical leadership, he pointed out to the issue of corruption, that whether you're a politician, whether you're in any sector, you're not supposed to be corrupt. And he went further to make an example of someone who is in this country, who's wanted in South Africa, who is a fugitive, and even saying, when I live here, I would want to pass through his house and just say to him, you must go back and answer. So you can see the contrast there. But then, apparently, because Malawi is going to elections and these charismatic churches in Malawi, they have many people and following, and he will influence, and there's a candidate who he is associated with, and there's also some rumor that he wants to contest. And therefore, that was a huge damage, because the response from the people who attended the lecture was positive and resounding agreement that people must be responsible and ethical when those were saying that. So they saw a damage. And I think in their wisdom, they decided to maneuver and get someone from South Africa to counter, so that it can be seen as an irresponsible statement, because Bushiri responded to Dr. Bushiri after those utterances. So there has been this story in Malawi about Bushiri, including now the pending court case in terms of the appeal, because the lower court has indicated that he must come to South Africa and answer those serious charges that include fraud, corruption, and also rape. And these are serious charges.
It's quite bizarre, I tell you, Sophie. And, so much has also been said in the public domain about what this visit actually means. But also, how does this visit affect Floyd Shivambu's future within the MK party or his broader political ambitions going forward?
I think it will be up to MK what steps or how they are going to handle this issue. In politics, politicians always make mistakes, and we see them back in the fold, even leading in highest office in the land. So we don't know. That is a matter for MK and Floyd Shivambu. And I think there will be discussions in terms of this, and it will be MK again coming back to communicate the decision or the outcome based on their own investigation and perhaps their engagement with their Secretary General. And I think for now, Floyd also will be given right to reply, because he might say, I was going there at the church as an individual, but it doesn't start at the church. There's a private meeting, engagement, and all of that. So the videos are there. But I think at the end of the day, it will be a matter between MK and its Secretary General, that is Floyd Shivambu, who will look at this matter And I think the party will come back and communicate to the voters, because MK is the third largest party, and it is the official opposition in this country. I'm sure they will come back and communicate when they've applied all processes internally, and the same with Floyd. We will give Floyd the right to reply. We have MK, we have the Department of Justice. We will reach out to Floyd also to give him right to reply. So I think it will be a decision by MK and Mr. Floyd Shivambu.
And I also piggyback off the point that you made a bit earlier, that it's not really clear whether he went there in his personal capacity or his professional capacity. But one would expect that a high-ranking politician as Floyd would know better that he is automatically an extension of the organization that he represents, right? So with all of this that is currently happening now, how could this visit potentially strain diplomatic relations between South Africa and Malawi? And if so, how?
I don't think that the visit by Floyd Shivambu will strain the diplomatic relations, because remember, Bushiri is not in government in Malawi. We know he's very influential, but he is not in government. And so there can't be a diplomatic standoff between the two countries. I think the issue here will be maybe those who are law enforcement in South Africa would want to get information, what was the purpose of the visit, like the Department of Justice has indicated, because this is a fugitive, and Interpol is also involved in terms of assisting South Africa to bring him back. Take, for an example, the Guptas. If one person in South Africa, the country is still trying to bring the Guptas back to account, and the Guptas, when they didn't skip bail, you know, but you know, it will make such a huge story if someone can say somebody visited the Guptas wherever they are, even though they didn't skip the bail, but because they are wanted in South Africa. So clearly law enforcement would want to know, how did you get hold of them, and what were you discussing? But I think at the end of the day, this is a matter that will be handled by the MK, Floyd, Shivambu, and if the law enforcement agency feels that there's a need to speak to him, you know. So I think that's where the issue is, but people continue to question the judgment.
And as you rightfully alluded there, you know, given Shepherd Bushiri's influence across parts of the continent and, you know, his strong following, he still commands respect despite his legal troubles. Now, do visits like this risk blurring the lines between religion, politics and justice? And what kind of precedent does this set for political accountability and public perception when we look at South Africa? And are we likely to see more politicking and more political parties jumping on the bandwagon on this as well?
Political parties, you know that the country will be going to local government elections next year. They will use this and they will make noise around this, but also ordinary South Africans. But in terms of blurring the lines, there's no blurring of lines here. It's in terms of politics and religion. It is perhaps questions that are being asked by ordinary people, and MK now has issued a statement distancing itself. The questions will continue. And Floyd Shivambu will be given a right to reply in the party and also in the media space where these questions are being asked. I think that's the way this whole story is going to pan out. And perhaps Floyd will give more information why he visited Bushiri, even though Bushiri is a fugitive who is still has to come to South Africa to account, and that is the responsibility of the law enforcement agencies in Malawi, South Africa, and the Interpol.
Sophie Mokoena is SABC News International Editor, joining us there to give us insight into the unfolding story of Floyd Shivambu's controversial visit to Shepherd Bushiri's church in Malawi and the MK Party's response.